now. So I'm going to hand it over to Shannon. Thank you very, very, very much for being here with us.
Thank you, Dawn, for that great introduction. Have you ever heard of Toastmasters International? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, that's good. Toastmasters International, for those of you who don't know, is a worldwide organization. I believe they have clubs everywhere locally. It's been going on since 1924. I joined back in 2019. And I joined because I wanted to be a workshop facilitator and I wanted to be a good speaker. So it started out an in-person meeting. It was on my lunch, it was close by, and it was convenient. But even better, it was a place where I felt comfortable and not judged at all. And it didn't matter what level of speaking you were at. I was welcomed as a guest, and I was never pressured to join, but I did eventually join. And again, I felt comfortable speaking in front of people I never knew before. Now, I was a very, very shy person growing up. So just going to the meeting alone was a big step for me. Never mind being around a bunch of people that I didn't know, but it was worth it. So just to tell you a little bit more about Toastmasters, a typical meeting is approximately 1 hour. We'll take different roles, us members. Someone will be the Toastmaster. They'll basically run the agenda. We'll have duty roles. One is a grammarian. The grammarian has an important job. The grammarian counts all the filler words. Um, uh, so, like, you know. You know was one of mine. I had to learn how to stop using you know as filler words. They also have a word of the day we try to use within our speaking during the meeting, and they also take note of any good uses of English language. It's all really helps everybody. The next would be a timer. The timer makes sure that our speeches are on time, gives us virtual backgrounds if it's online, cueing us, it's almost time to wrap it up. We also have a quiz master. They'll test our listening skills at the end, which is very important. Speaking is important, but listening is just as important. Remember that. And that's why we have that quizmaster role. We'll also have prepared speeches, which are usually 5 to 7 minutes, a lot shorter than this presentation. And then we'll have somebody evaluate those speeches in the evaluation portion of the meeting. We have a table topic session. Now, this is where everybody gets a chance to speak impromptu. You have 2 minutes. I almost thought about trying it in this presentation, but I left that out for this time. We all get a chance to answer a question with no time to prepare at all. Speak for 1 to 2 minutes and try to make up anything you can. You can make it up, it can be truth. It's to get us used to speaking on the fly when we're not prepared. And it is great practice, and we do it in every meeting. And like I said, everybody gets a chance. We learn from each other. Bringing it all the way back to the evaluation portion of the meeting, those speeches are evaluated and the whole meeting is evaluated. So we're all there really just to improve each other. So what started out as somewhere I was going to learn how to speak better has been way more, way more. It gave me confidence. It gave me a lot. So that's about the Toastmasters in a nutshell. Now, I'm going to give you a lot of tips today that you're going to be able to use right away. You can apply them to your speaking, your presentations. You'll be able to have some takeaways. But regardless of the guidance that I give you today, the most powerful tool is you. You have the signature frequency resonance. You have only one. How you use it will be different than anybody else. No matter what guidance and tips I give you today, it's all about how you apply your signature frequency, your uniqueness. That's what gives your words the power. That's how you use your power to benefit you. Let's get started. First of all, be prepared. Whether it's a speech, a presentation, an interview, we have the same goals. We want to captivate and connect with the audience. While I give you some guidance, everybody's, like I said, will be different. You're going to use your strongest tool, and that is your voice. Did you know that I bought a recorder a few years back? I didn't want to use my phone because I didn't want to sleep with my phone with a Wi-Fi connection. I bought a little recorder and I was using it for manifesting. I recorded myself confident, speaking clearly, being thankful for the manifestations that were already happening. And I listened to it over and over and over again. I listened to it in the car. I listened to it before I went to bed. Did I need it to manifest? Probably not. Did I need it to believe in myself? Probably not. At the time, I thought I did. But you know what? It actually helped with my speaking. It helped me hear how I speak, for one, improve on how I speak, for another, and get me more confident as I kept making recordings without using any filler words, without any hiccups. In the end, it helped me with my speaking. So I'm really glad I had the recorder and I would recommend it. So it helped me with being prepared. But let's get back to it. Let's know who your audience is, first of all. Let's at least know a little bit about them and what you might be able to expect and what their expectations might be. That'll help you. What is your message? What do you want them to know? Do you want them to do something? What do you want them to feel? Know this going in. Having a plan is all it takes. There are three easy parts to any presentation that you're going to give, whether it's a story, like I said, it could be in an interview, battery low, could be a talk. There's the opening. Okay. First of all, what is the most important part? In my opinion, the most important part is the conclusion. What should you start working on first? The conclusion. But back to the three main parts. I'll go in order, starting with the beginning. In the beginning, you need to use I used to call it the 8-second grandmother rule at the show for people walking by the booths, but in a presentation, how do you captivate your audience in 7 seconds? This is not time for pleasantries, folks. This is time to grab their attention. 7 seconds. How are you going to do it? You could shock them with an amazing statistics that's crazy to believe, or some new news that just came out. You could ask them a question and engage them right away. Ask them a question you know relates to them. Or you could paint a picture. Help visualize. Tell them visualize and describe a scenario where you want them to be, what you want them to feel. Again, having this plan is the best. And Dawn, remind me in Canadian Society of Dowsers, because if you're still opening with I'm glad to be here, stop it. What level are they at? You need to know. You need to know. If you're still opening like an airline pilot, please stop. Good afternoon. It's currently 72 degrees. Nope. We need to ask questions. For instance, what would you do if? Or imagine standing on the stage. Imagine is a magic word. Imagine puts the audience in your story. Imagine, and it puts them in your hands. In the first 21 seconds, you want to promise a takeaway, show credibility, and bring energy. Whether that's through curiosity or humor, make it count. We're now in the first 21 seconds. Hook first, think later. Now it's the body. Please engage your audience. If anything, please engage them in one way or another. This is a picture of the Toronto Spring Camping and RV Show, which I produce every winter here in Toronto. And this is an example of an engaged audience. They all have their hands up, they're being asked a question. We had two full-time RVers on stage. They travel around and they go camping in different provincial parks in Ontario, and then they report about it on YouTube. They have a tremendous following. The following follow them to our show. They've been following them to the show for the last 2 years, but they don't just stand there with a PowerPoint presentation talking about themselves and talking about their trip and this is this trip and that trip. No, they engage the audience. They ask the audience, hey, have you ever been to this place? They ask the audience, do you have any questions for us about any of these places on our amazing trips? They make them laugh. They tell jokes, probably sharing their personal experiences, which is what I strongly recommend. You're engaging your audience when you're sharing your own personal stories. You don't have to have them talking and putting their hands up when you're engaging them. You just have to make them feel that you're actually having a talk, like over an afternoon tea, and you're involving them in the conversation. There's audience polls you can do and you can show your images, but again, involve them. Smile and laugh. Remember to smile. It's one of my top priorities when I evaluate Toastmasters. When you're delivering the body of a presentation, please keep in mind these are things that that's my speaker. These are the things that Toastmasters keeps an eye on when we're evaluating a 5 to 7 minute speech. We all do it for each other and we all learn. We learn when someone's speaking and we learn when somebody's evaluating them. We take our own notes and we take it and put it and apply it to our life or our next speech. Clarity. Can people understand what you're saying easily? Record yourself and check in with these items. Ask yourself, am I doing these things? Vocal variety. Are you speaking with energy? Are you excited when you're talking about something exciting? Or are you just talking in a monotone voice? Watch yourself. Practice. It's the only way you'll know. Plus, Toastmasters evaluations. Use high and low and quiet and sad. Gestures. Are you using gestures? When you're speaking from the heart, when you're trying to share a thought, are you using your gestures to the most that you can to share how you feel, to maximize the feeling because you want your audience to feel what you're feeling? That's why you're here. Are you using eye contact? If it's virtual, you're looking at a camera. Are you looking at the camera? If you're in person, are you looking around at the crowd? Or are you staring at one spot because you're nervous? And that's okay. But if you keep practicing, you'll get more comfortable with it. By the way, what is your comfort level? If you're comfortable, then your audience will be more comfortable. A lot of the time, people don't even know you're nervous. You just have to slow down and pause instead of using filler words. If you have a podium and you're nervous, hold on to that podium if you think you're going to fumble with your hands. The interest and purpose, well, that's just common sense. Are you engaging the audience with your story? Are they getting what you're saying? Is it interesting? Have you made it interesting? Have you made a boring topic at work interesting? You can. Keep these things in mind and check in once you've done a presentation. We have recordings of presentations that were done at the conference. We could rewatch them, all of us, and look for ways to improve for the next one, because we'll all be speaking soon, I'm sure. How many slides or visuals do you need? I'm just going to stop right now because I want you to think about this. I have a lot, and it helps me. It helps me not forget the next part, and it helps me go in order, and it helps you obviously know what I'm talking about in case sometimes if I'm talking too fast. It gives you the tips right on the screen. But how many do I really need? Think about that when you're preparing an online presentation, for instance. It takes away from the speaker. It'll definitely take away from my great gestures and everything else that I might be trying to do. I'll be in a little box, but that's okay. If it's a project on visual presentations online, then your slides are the best. But if you're trying to connect with your audience, engage them at the same time, then I would recommend the least amount of slides, if possible, or less. So take a look at your presentations, see if there's any slides that you can take out. Are there places in your speech that you can stop sharing and talk and not have the slides on the entire time? How many do you need? For the body, keep in mind every story should have a message and every message should have a story. If you have a script, if you have a presentation written out, does everything go together? Are there any points that don't go that can come out? Does everything revert back to your story? Does everything revert back to your message? These are ways you can perform your own evaluations on your written part before you even speak. Lasting impressions. I have a few words on this. Never end with a Q&A. Q&As are effective if provided near the end, not at the end. Allocate 10 to 15 minutes. And my advice, never bluff. If you don't know the answer, you might want to put it out to the audience. You might be surprised. Or my advice is to say that you'll get back to that person as soon as you can with that information. It's really easy. And if you have that answer prepared to remember it, then you can use it in every presentation. You might not remember the answer. You might even know it. You might be nervous. You can just calmly say, I'd be happy to send that to you in an email. Practice. It all is with practice. Strong conclusion. Remember, in my opinion, the conclusion is the most important. Why? Because people tend to remember what you said last. Your conclusion is your drop mic moment, your final chance to tattoo your message onto your audience's brains. But how are you going to do it? Bring it back to your opening. Add a powerful call to action or a powerful quote. Never end with, any questions? Don't do that. Put it all back to the beginning like you're wrapping a gift and you're tying the bow nice and neat. Finish with a strong closing after your Q&A to remember you. And strong and smart, like you mean it, like I mean it right now. as I share this with you. So you don't have to go to weekly Toastmasters meetings. You can summarize 3 points or use a foundational phrase. For example, this is one that I've taken with permission from one of our Toastmaster Club members. He says it every time. Plan the work, work the plan. We have attached this phrase to this person. People will remember the slogan and attach it to you. Oh, it is true, and it happened. Remember this and use it to your advantage. What is your slogan? Do you have one? Speaking for business. Well, that's enough about how to structure a presentation or an interview or a presentation. What about our own business? I realize that everything that I've said was meant for us to apply to our own house healing businesses, teaching businesses, speaking businesses. But let's get specific for us. Can you all let me know if by a show of hands, who has heard of the sales tactic called sell me this pen? Has anybody heard of this? Nope. Okay, okay. Wonderful. I'm going to go back to sharing. Be ready to answer this, folks. And there's a reason I'm sharing this with you. You can apply this as well to any conversation that you may be having, or any time that you're in the spotlight and you may be asked a question off guard. This is a good framework to be ready to do that. One day it'll happen, so I want you to be prepared. And if you start, if you start telling me how shiny and beautiful the pen is, then I don't think you're going to get the job if it's a job interview. Structure your answer. I'm going to show you how. When you become good at answering this question, you'll actually become one heck of a salesperson. Again, we're our own salesperson. We're selling our own services and our own businesses. Now, that's what we're applying this to. But the framework is still operable. There are exactly 4 sales skills the interviewer is looking for when they ask you this question or when they ask you to sell you a pen. They want to see how you're gathering information, how you respond to information, how you deliver information, and how you ask for something, which is in the end, how are you going to sell that pen? How are you going to ask them to buy the pen? Well, this is how it happens. I'll be both. I'll do some role playing here. I will be both the CEO and the person that is getting or interviewing for the job. CEO, do me a favor. Sell me this pen. Reaches across, gives me the pen. I slowly roll the pen in my fingers and I look at it. And I ask, when's the last time you used this pen? This morning, the CEO says. Do you remember what kind of pen that was? No. Do you remember why you were using the pen? Yes, signing a few contracts. Well, I'd say that's the best use for a pen. Wouldn't you say signing those new customer contracts is an important event in your business? The CEO agrees. Then shouldn't it be treated like one? What I mean is, here you are signing new customer contracts, an important and memorable event with an unmemorable pen. We grew up our entire lives using cheap big pens to get the job done with grocery lists and whatever else we want to jot down. This pen is for more important events. This is the tool used to get deals done. Think of it as a symbol, taking your company to the next level. Because when you're using the right tool, you become more productive. Unfortunately, this is my last pen, but I'm offering it to you to borrow. I'd be happy to come by next week to pick it up, and it won't cost you a cent. And that is how it's done. The CEO, after he dropped his jaws, says yes. Here's the framework. Simple framework you can memorize that will work for you in any situation. Find out how they last used the pen. Gather info. Emphasize the importance of the activity. Last, last used the pen. Respond to the info they tell you. Sell something bigger than the pen, like a state of mind. It could even be a big win. Deliver the info. And finally, ask for the buy. They're closing. You can definitely apply this to any situation. And with practice, you'll be ready. You'll be ready to answer questions on the fly. It's not about selling the pen. It's about how well you can sell a product or your service. Think about how we can apply this to our house healing services or the other services that we offer. We can do this with our products. We can do this face to face. We can use this messaging within our marketing material. There's several ways we can use it. It's not all about giving a speech and giving a presentation or answering questions on the fly. We have to be able to get smart and connect with our audience, and that's our audiences everywhere that are coming to the website, that are coming to the conferences, seeing us online, or simply just visiting our profile on the House Healing Network's website. We can use this to our advantage. We'll speak about it, but also expend everything you speak about into all of your marketing materials. It's a part of you and it carries the energy. To find opportunities. Now, this might seem silly. Look for opportunities. If you look for opportunities, you're putting it out into the universe. And I'm not sure how many of you practice manifesting or have looked at the different ways of manifesting. But if you start putting things out there or writing them down, things spark, things happen. Go looking and see what happens and be ready, my friends, for when it happens. Stay calm and be prepared because you will get offers. You will get offers. Now, I've heard this so many times before, fake it until you make it, but I have to agree with this. If you're offered an opportunity and you're not sure that you could do it all or do it in time, say yes. I recommend to say yes and you try it. Never underestimate yourself. You absolutely can so do it. And who cares if you haven't done it before? You can learn how to say yes. Okay, it might be free. They might not be paying a lot. They might keep asking you back. You never know what will happen if you say yes. You never know who you will run into or what it may lead to. The recording will be out into the universe. The more you speak about yourself and about what you do, the more you're broadcasting it. Include your personal experience because that only helps engage and connect you. Right back to where I was talking about being prepared, even with the venue. You're all experiencing a place together. You're in the same place. You can joke about it, talk about it, include them. And when you are speaking, and even if you've just done one workshop, my first workshop, I had my daughter take pictures. So in my marketing material, it may have looked like I was a professional speaker. but it's all I needed to get started. And the image actually made me feel more confident. I thought, wow, look at me up there. I actually did it. I never would have seen that without taking the pictures. Take the pictures. See how you look. See how your stance is when you're in front of people. And I've done a couple now, and I got more pictures. So use what you have, and it doesn't matter if it's a small amount. It all helps manifest where you're going, where you're on your way with your business. I know we're all in the same boat there because even though we have different services, we're all aiming for the same goals, and that's to connect and engage, not just during presentations, during everyday conversations with anybody, your friends or possible colleagues. You never know. This final one that I have here, keep your self-image intact. I also picked this up from a Toastmaster and I thought about it for a long time. I actually wrote it down and I agree with it. It's only my opinion, but you will never outperform your own self-image. If you have perhaps maybe a low self-esteem or a low self-image, then how would you expect to be a top performing speaker? Or how would you expect to sell yourself if you're talking to some clients? Even your friends. Do you sell your friends? Do they believe in you? Do they like your products and services? Just for a test. Keep it intact. Make sure you're loving yourself. Make sure you're talking in the mirror and saying, I got this. And make it weird until it isn't weird anymore. Say I love you and that you're successful. I am successful. Mean it. Which brings me, I'll talk about speaking from the heart in a couple slides, but the next thing about the business is speaking with the media. And I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to speak with media, but I figured since I have, I would tell you a little bit of a story about my background and then give you some tips. When I started out running the RV show back in 2006, I was actually an executive assistant and I was so shy. I was afraid to even do the announcements at the show. It was a wireless microphone. So what I did was I took it into the office and I went behind the curtain to say the announcements with my written script. I did that for at least a couple of years. Nobody could see me, and I was still afraid. I was still nervous. The next step was to do a radio interview. The radio would be on site at the show, and they would have a display, and they would do a live cut-in on a telephone. I'd be so nervous. Why was I nervous? Once again, nobody could see me. Nobody could see me. I'm on a phone. I'm only talking to the one person from the radio station. I've still got a script. I'm still nervous. It takes time. As time went by, I got a little more comfortable doing the announcements, not behind the curtain, and the radio interviews without hesitating so much or having the piece of paper in my hand. I learned how to follow the the personality from the radio station or the TV station, their lead. And I found that was the most useful tool that I learned on my own. Sometimes they'll give you advice. So, all the way up to the TV spots at the show, we came to a time where somehow we booked CTV and Global at the same time. And they were both coming. I I was forced to handle one on my own, and that was my first time. But I did it. And sometimes when you're in a situation where you have to do it and you have to step up, you almost forget that you're nervous. I was still nervous, but I made it through. And that was many, many years ago. But I'll never forget it because it was my first TV appearance. Years went on, and I've been doing TV interviews now. And believe me, I'm still nervous sometimes. But the more I did it, the more comfortable I felt. And with these tips that I've listed here, they should help you if you ever have the opportunity to speak on TV. Remember, they're just people, just like you and I. Some call them celebrities. Some of them might be more popular. Some of them might get paid a lot more than others. You might be talking to somebody new who I have. It's their first time. You might be talking to somebody like Susan Hay who comes every year. And she's been around for, I'm probably not supposed to say how many years, more than 20. She's a very popular Toronto newscaster. Just look at them. Don't look at the camera. You're just talking to a person. Answer the questions as slow and as possible as you can. I say that because I sometimes speak fast, sometimes forget. Even with all the Toastmasters training and presentations, if I'm a little nervous, I might just talk fast. So as slow as you can, like you're just having tea, having a conversation. And if you're comfortable with it, as I did become comfortable closer to the end, I would say, we're here till 5. We're here till Sunday because I knew it was over. Sometimes it's easy to add a little excitement if you know it's your last line. But if you're not comfortable with it, leave it to the newscaster. They do a fine job. Answer their questions, be calm, and follow their lead. That's my advice. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you will be. That's why I say do it as much as possible because it really does help. I alluded to speaking from the heart before, and here we are, back to my energy piece. In case you don't know, we do operate on 9 octaves. When I mentioned our frequency signature, I wasn't kidding. We have our body, mind, and spirit. We have 3 templates, the human, the galactic, and the cosmic. And these are the placements. Now, the reason I talk about that is because when we open our heart, what happens? When we open our heart mind, even saying the words heart mind changes, makes a shift in our bodies. An idea that comes down into from your third eye into the heart gets broadcasted. It projects from our heart. So it's not a field, but a wave form that shoots out. Now, I like to talk about speaking from the heart because that's what I want to do. I want to broadcast, especially when I'm talking about things that are very passionate to me. It comes out as a waveform to everybody, and I don't care if it's virtual or in person. It hits you. It has energy, and you can put your intention into that energy, and you can broadcast it to the audience. Another way to engage them. When we say that open heart mind, it does take you to another octave, a higher frequency. The heart's magnetic field is the main driver. Even in healing, which that's not what we're talking about today. But if something is weak in your body, your heart is the main driver. That's where you would want to focus to the weak spot with your heart. But for speaking, we want to use it. We want to use our whole structure, our whole field, and our heart to broadcast what we're trying to deliver to the audience. As we level up to each octave, we're using different hearts because we have an everescent heart, we have a plasma heart, and we have a radioactive heart at the highest level. As we use them, we get stronger. So my advice, speak from the heart. Always speak from the heart. The gestures will come naturally. Believe me. People, remember what you said last. Now, I just want to remind you who is the most powerful? You, your voice, your sound signature frequency is the power that goes into your words. So people remember what you said last. Well, as part of my conclusion, I want to talk about our powerful voice. In the end, it's the most powerful instrument you possess as a speaker. It conveys not only the message, but your feelings, your confidence, your credibility. You're bringing it all back to the beginning, where in those 21st, 20, the first 21st seconds, you talked about your credibility and your passion. You're closing it up through tone, pace, and emphasis with your voice. You engage your audience, clarify your ideas, and leave a lasting impression. Like I said, like you mean it, because you do mean it, and you want them to remember. You want them to take away what you've given them. So as you continue to transform your words into power for your business, as you continue to develop your public speaking skills, remember, your voice is not just how you communicate. It is how you connect and lead. And finally, captivate. The most powerful voice is your own. Don't forget it. Thank you.
Wow, well done. So many important points there that really resonated with me. And before we kind of open it up for questions and conversations, this sense of broadcasting that kind of just landed on me. It's like you know it in one level, but if you think about this kind of bigger broadcasting, every time we speak about what we do, we are sending out information into the universe, and kind of forgot that, or I pulled that out of my subconscious and into my conscious mind. So thank you, Shannon, for that reminder. And I love those kind of bookmark pieces. So that like shock and awe at the start, and then the kind of conclusion and bringing it back, and it's kind of reflecting on my presentations, my teaching. I'm like, do I do that bookmark? If I'm going on a Zoom, I do. Thank you for having me here. I do start with that, and I'm
You do
like,
it too. You gotta stop.
and then I was thinking about the conference. We ended it with questions, Q&A. So some really good tips and tools there, Shannon. So thank you.
And it's funny because obviously we are leaving the Q&A in this session because this is how our sessions go at the House Healing Network, and I completely understand that. But for when you are in an interactive presentation, just remember that the most important at the very end is to sell yourself. But for this meeting, of course, we're opening up to questions and you can ask me anything you want.
So thoughts, comments, questions, guys? Melanie.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Shannon. Really, really good. Um, I was really painfully shy. I actually had a school report saying Melanie hasn't said a word all year. We're not quite sure if she's still awake. I just didn't talk. I was so shy. I was terrified. And then I got bullied into teaching at 18, teaching teenagers that were like 2 years younger than me, which was a bit scary.
Yeah.
And then I worked in schools when I moved over here. I couldn't be a ranger because I couldn't speak Irish. I've been a conservation ranger. I used to give talks and lectures and things all the time as part of being a ranger. And then I came over here. I don't speak Irish. What do I do now? So I started teaching in schools. The kids taught me so much. And it was, you didn't go in there and just talk to them. I used to bring things in and I'd say, what's this? And I'd dress them up and put things in. And the kids are hilarious. And the teacher said to me, they've learned so much, and we didn't talk. I didn't talk it to them. I talked with them, and the kids were always asking questions. What's this and what does this do? And I've got ME, so I have no memory. I go completely blank. So I have to have props like this, kind of straw props. And so I used to pick up the first thing and say, what's this then? What do we do with this? What do you think this is for? Where do you think that goes? And the kids were brilliant. And it gave me so much more confidence because I wasn't, especially the kids as well, but some of them had asked really interesting questions. And you, like you said, I don't know. And I say, that's your homework. Go away and find out. And they'd be, okay. And so, I mean, it's actually having fun. I had so much fun teaching children. It taught me so much more than ever that I could have been teaching adults. And they were so interested and so funny as well sometimes as well, which was good. And humour is a brilliant thing. So I think that's very important. You've got to say you enjoy it and relax. So I miss teaching in schools. I used to love teaching in schools. So thank you. That was really good. It made me realise I was doing something right.
Thank you for sharing because I was going to say you have everything checked off and absolutely it's with children you really need to keep them engaged
Mm.
and what a challenge for
215 a day, every day.
and even at
Every,
first when you had to when
yeah.
they were only a couple years younger that would have
Oh, yeah.
definitely been a challenge but that seems to be what kicked you off to a great start and it's wonderful. Teachers do have a lot of these skills. They have to if they're going to do it all day.
My husband got pushed into teaching as well. I know some of you are into astrology, but I looked at his chart when I first met, and he's got Saturn on the 12th house and nothing else. It's all underneath. And he's a Scorpio, very, very Scorpio. And I said, oh, you're a teacher. He said, I'm not a teacher. I couldn't possibly teach. He is a brilliant teacher. He's actually been taking them out to a open air kind of place where they've been rope walking and making rafts today and all sorts of stuff. And they're all difficult teenagers. And he said he loves it because it's so rewarding. And he would have literally hidden under the covers rather than come out and talk. But gives you so much more self confidence, doesn't it?
It does.
So thank you. That was excellent.
Thank you.
And we have another question.
Hi, thank you very much, Shannon, for that presentation. The timing of it is quite interesting because I made a presentation last week to a panel of parents from my daughter's school, and it was because I'm part of the smartphone-free childhood movement here in the UK. So it was not for work, but I could see I needed to convince people, I needed the evidence, etc. So it was really interesting for me to do it. And at some point, I said an anecdote. I was telling a story, and I started crying because I was talking about a teenager that is doing self-harm and whom I know personally. And I couldn't resist. I was starting feeling all this emotion, and then I was looking at other parents, and they also had tears in their eye because they were sort of mirroring me and my emotion. But I felt like, what do I do in those circumstances? I tried to look away, looked back at my slides, what's the next point kind of thing. But so I think it wasn't a bad thing that it happened because it felt like really true. But at the same time, going out of that situation for myself and finding my feet again was quite difficult. So would you have any tips if that sort of thing happens again?
It sounds like you handled yourself very exceptionally well. Definitely take a moment because they're feeling what you're feeling. They need a moment too. And
Mm.
there's nothing wrong with that. Just take a pause. Whether you want to announce that or not, it's obvious the emotion is being shared. And you definitely did the engaging part. But yes, you after a pause, you want to let people collect their thoughts. No longer than 60 seconds, maybe only even 45 seconds, as long as it takes you also to be okay. And
Mm,
then uh, thank you for the people's support and
mm,
then move on to the next slide. And again, it's how comfortable you are, but announce that we'll now move on. I realize that was emotional for all of us and include them again and use every opportunity you can to include that it's us That was a very emotional, and we'll now move on to the next part and try to do it as kindly and gently as possible if it happens to follow an upset moment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because there's something in there about we need to be authentic. And, if something we're speaking about moves us in that way, we have to allow that moment to happen. But you're right in that kind of transition. How do you kind of ground yourself again and move through that? And I really like what you said there, Shannon, about, it's not just you having that moment. The audience, if you will, had that moment as well, and giving them some grace to ground as well. Great advice there.
And pausing only emphasizes what has transpired. So it would only emphasize what you just spoke of even more with the silence.
Shannon, I have another question just about kind of your personality and maybe even cultural norms. When I think about like how Americans might present versus us English people that are probably a little bit more less out there, if you will. So I just wondered whether or not you had some wisdom on kind of staying authentic to who you are as as an individual, or maybe some of the cultural norms, and still bringing that kind of energy and passion and kind of out there-ness.
Excellent question. I've seen a lot of international speech contests, and these are people from all around the world. With Toastmasters, it stays standard so that everybody has the same base for a competition. But absolutely, the world winner, who we've been actually watching the YouTube videos sometimes when we don't have speakers in our club, a absolutely integrated a story that became a part of himself. And through sharing those personal experiences, and along with all the things that we discussed tonight, with gestures and emotion, and if you're in person, he was using the stage, he was showing all the actions, and it really involved the audience at every level. And I guess the top point to be would be to include your heritage in with your speaking. Keep it going. And especially even if it's in a Toastmasters where everybody is a same standard, then always include your personal experiences and your personal heritage, things that you learned from where you grew up, from the place you grew up, the things that your ancestors did. I would always include them in your stories, and it's not just stories, but in your presentations, because let's face it, everything that you were brought up knowing, it really is all integrated into the person that you are now. So you really should keep it as part of you and all the knowledge. And yeah, sorry about the long-winded answer. I'm just it's again being unique to yourself, and the only thing about being unique is your own stories and experiences. That's the best way.
Thanks, Shannon. Tracy.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you very much for your presentation. That was absolutely wonderful. I really enjoyed it. And I'm doing it now. How do you get over saying all the time? Do you have to sort of like train yourself to get out of it, or is there any hints or tips that you could give doing again to get out of the habit? Thank you.
Number one, the number one lesson is the awareness. Once you're aware, you will start doing it less. So you're aware already right now. And for us, it was practice. For my daughter, she's 26 now, but I think this is maybe 5 years ago. She kept saying like every third word. And I heard her on the phone, and I couldn't believe it. And then she'd send recordings to her friends, and she would be saying like every third word. And I just kindly pointed that out to her. and it worked. Like she couldn't believe how many times she was saying it until I pointed it out. And then eventually she stopped saying it. So we can train our brains. It is absolutely possible. So, like I mentioned, I just said so. Now I'm catching all my filler words. In our club, we count them. Somebody will, and knowing that somebody's counting them, well, that will do it. And if you could have a friend, perhaps mention it, ask if they notice you're saying it, and then you could also practice recording yourself, and the more you do it, and the more now that you're aware of it, the less you will do it. You know what my problem is? I go to different business meetings, and I'm on the board of this one group, and there's a small association the association runs the board, I suppose. So I want to tell them so bad that they say about 50 or 100 times in a meeting, and I don't know how. I don't want to just come out and say you really need to join Toastmasters. Some way I'm going to figure it out to say it just as nicely as I did to my daughter. But not only are you going to improve now, but you're going to notice when other people do it. So really, back to number one is just being aware of it is
Hmm.
already going to make a difference when you're
Okay.
speaking.
Thank you very much.
Count
Thank you.
them on your own too.
Okay, there's probably
It's like a
lots.
swear jar, but not swearing.
Thank you.
Shannon, you're saying about your daughter saying like. I know it's quite a trendy thing to do, but I read the tarot, and if somebody did that, I'd say to him, so why do you feel you're not liked? Because people say that when they want to be approved as well, don't they? It's
Ye
probably not the right environment to do so. But I always say to him, why do you feel like you need to be liked all the time? Do you feel that you're very?
that's
It's
a
a
good
sign of
point.
insecurity.
That's
I
a
said
really
that to a
good
few
point.
people, and they've actually said, "Oh, well, actually, I feel really shy," or a bit, and they start talking about what it is, and then they stop saying like. It drives me bonkers. I I totally agree with you,
Yeah, I never thought of it from that perspective, but that could be a reason why.
especially young teenage girls.
That's a
Definitely.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
One of my husband says, you know what I mean? A ton. So he could be like, he can say two sentences and then he'd be like, you know what I mean? And then two sentences, you know what I mean? And it does drive me nuts.
I'm sorry, everybody, but you are not going to be able to unknow what you've learned today. That's important.
It's
Good.
a, it's interesting that you said that, Melanie, because I'm like, subconsciously, does my husband feel that he, people don't listen to him or he isn't getting his point across? So that's just an interesting kind of reframe there. I'm not quite sure what the reframe is for but
Pause. A pause is always better than a filler word. And if you're in person, just hold on to that podium and pause.
Heather.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I just wanted to say that I think I'm going to apply this format rather to presenting reports. It's given me some clarity and understanding of like a simple format. So I really appreciate that perspective. I'm so grateful. And I also wanted to say that photo of you holding the radiant light with the media, the picture that you presented in your presentation today is just magical. That's such a beautiful picture of you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the kind words. And that photo was actually of a colleague who was at home, and the TV popped on, and they took a picture of it. So it actually it wasn't the best picture, but it did capture the light, and it
Yeah.
captures what I'm trying to say. I'm just talking to her like a normal person. And it took a long time for me to get to that point, but I think, like I said, the practice helped. But thank you for that picture.
It was just that as well. You had this wonderful ball of light right at your heart, your heart area, and it was beautiful.
Must have been meant to be.
Meant to be. And that's a really good point about, the structure doesn't always have to be, the words that we speak. It's really good for the words that we write as well. So
That's
that's
right.
a really good point, Heather.
I'm happy to share the file if anybody wants it. There are lots of tips in there. And yeah, just let me know. Or I can send it to Dawn and Melanie.
Yep, we can absolutely send it out for sure.
Okay. Well, I thank you all for listening, and hopefully that you can use some of those takeaways right away.
And so just to reiterate, Shannon, who runs a clear sphere,
Yes.
and you can find her on Facebook as well, under iClear Sphere if you want to reach out and connect. Melanie.
I'm wondering if you're interested in this pen, actually, Shannon. I have a special pen for you here. It's a magical pen to write your manifestations with. So would you like to borrow it till we see each other next time?
I've got those ideas. I want to charge my pens and pencils because remember the pencils have the graphite frequency. So use pencils when you're manifesting and writing intention notes and broadcasting.
Exactly. And as a druid, we do an awful lot of magical writing. So I have pens are my friends. I love pens. Thank you.
You don't write in blood then?
No, not unless you're going to give me some, Dawn. You can always donate some blood.
Yeah.
Actually, I used to run a thing called the Green Circle many, many years ago, but the lady called Marion Green, who was like a magician, and we had a black magician write and say he'd like to join. And so I said to Marion, "What do I do?" I was like in my 20s. She said, "What do I do?" She said, "Tell him to write in blood." I said, "Really?" She said, "All of it." So then you'll never have a problem with him ever again. I didn't, but that would have been quite cool. I was terrified. I thought she was serious.
Well, donating blood is very difficult for an English person in Canada.
And in Ireland, I can't give blood here.
They would not have our blood because of mad cow disease.
Exactly.
I think
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah. I think last year they might have lifted the restrictions. I think it's been so long now, but we were unable to donate because I don't think there was they couldn't screen the blood, so we couldn't donate as English people in Canada.
I can't do that here. I'm a vegetarian since I was 10, and and I don't have anything to do with cows. They still wouldn't let me do it. It's weird, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
think it's the same in France as well, because my
Is
daughter
it?
can't give blood because she was living in the UK before we moved over there in the 70s when mad cow was rife.
Right, that makes a lot of sense.
And she
I
still
see,
can't,
Susan.
and now she's 45 and she still can't give blood.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because I don't like needles.
No, I don't mind giving blood. I love giving blood. I like to think it's doing something good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Shannon. That was absolutely brilliant, and we really, really learned an awful lot.
Thank
Thank
And
you
I
for
will.
the opportunity.
I have a lot of Druid friends that do the Toastmaster.
Pardon?
I have a lot of Druid friends that do
Oh, okay,
Toastmaster,
good, good.
and then they give lots of talks to people about what we do. So it's I know that they said it's been an amazing help. So thank you.
And Shannon's popped her website address down there if you want to reach out and get in touch. And of course, you can also visit her profile on our professional register. Thank you all for coming to this extra special one. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time when we've got a wonderful Q&A. A chance for us all to get together and ask questions and we've got some plans for that meeting. We want to build in some time so we can get to know each other a little bit better as well. So hopefully you'll all come, and big plans for next year as well. Lots of new things coming online so that we can promote you all in your businesses and your endeavors, and it's going to be fun.
It'll be excellent. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, everyone. Would you mind stop share recording?
Thank you.